Hello everyone and welcome back. So in this Artist Life video, I'm just going to be really talking about what has been going on the past little while. And I guess I'm saying this in past tense because this video was also filmed a while ago. For a while, a lot of my videos are going to have been filmed a while ago because now I'm just catching up with the final editing and the voiceovers because I just couldn't for a while because I was doing work on a couple of other things. But I still remember what was going on during these times. So this week I wanted to practice some oil painting. I wanted to get back into it. This is me working on some canvas paper on an oil painting, and I don't actually know why I filmed this vertically. There was a reason for it, but I actually can't remember why I did it. But I still thought I'd include it so you can see what I was doing this week. I wasn't able to finish it because it took longer than I expected to, but I'm still glad that I did it. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten back to it because other work has just taken up my time. I thought I was going to have more time to work in oils and practice them, but I was wrong. And here you see the same girl, but this is different. I simply drew the same girl again, and now I'm practicing purple underpainting to see how it would look. I just wanted to see, I guess, just what kind of effect it would give, and if it would even work, honestly. And truth be told, it kind of didn't. It more so toned the piece rather than worked as an underpainting, which is still valuable information. Like, now that I know that colors like this more so tone pieces rather than work as underpaintings, I can still use that in the future for certain works to look certain ways. Like if I was doing like a mystical witchy piece, I think this would be a great technique to use. Oh, so with this one I'm doing watercolors. I don't think I mentioned that. So I'm using my Daniel Smith watercolors to try this practice. And here I am doing some light boarding. I'm transferring a lot of my pieces. I was transferring a lot of my pieces this week onto watercolor paper, so this way I could paint them. So yeah, I did a lot of transferring. So this is my goddess piece, and I'm still a little bit unsure about her color palette. I'm going back and forth on it a little bit. I haven't made any firm decisions yet, but I am still really excited to paint her. So this is another transfer that I'm doing. This is a fairy on a mushroom. I did her a while ago, and like I said, I haven't been able to transfer her, but I decided to dedicate this week to really just transferring pieces and getting them ready for transfer. So this way I would just have them ready for when I go to paint. So yeah, I really focused on that a lot this week. And here's another transfer. I was calling this one Cherry Blossom Cutie because she doesn't have a name yet. And actually, even though I transferred this one, I'm debating going through with painting her. Maybe I just need to change up the color palette because maybe that's what I don't like that I came up with, but I don't know. As much as I like her and I like her design, I don't know. I don't know if I want to paint her. So this is me outlining a piece from my Fabrino watercolor sketchbook. If you watched my first Artist Life video, you would know that I had a bunch of sketches in on this particular paper, but the paper ended up being not good for what I like to do with my artwork. So I need to transfer all my pieces onto Canson watercolor. So that's why I'm outlining her very dark so that I can later transfer her. So this is a drawing I started working on this week as well, and I just decided to film a quick snippet of it. This piece was actually inspired by a bird that I saw, and when I go to paint her, I'll definitely film it and I'll show you the bird as well. And yeah, I'll talk about it. So she's finished by now, but the thing that I can't decide is, well, actually I have her color palette decided. I just can't figure out which way I want the hair to go, because she has two tones in her hair, white and black, but I can't figure out what I want the main color to be, if I want it to be black or I want it to be white. So that's kind of the part that I'm, I guess, struggling with. Just trying to figure out what to make the main hair color. I decided to add this little design on her face. It was sort of just an impulse kind of thing, but you know, I actually really liked the way it turned out. And this is actually another thing that I'm struggling with figuring out how to color, but I guess it'll depend on what color I choose as the main color of the hair. So here I'm taking up a finished transfer of one of my pieces from the Fabrino watercolor sketchbook. This is the one that I thought I was going to redo completely because I thought her face was too wonky, but looking at it again, I decided that no, she's good, and because she's a forest nymph, she's allowed to have, you know, like some, I guess, bizarre features. The only thing I really didn't like was that I thought I made her forehead way too high, so I tried to fix that up later. So here I'm just grabbing out another sketch from my Fabrino watercolor sketchbook to outline so I can transfer it. A couple of these pieces in this watercolor book I don't think I'm going to transfer just because I don't think I like them anymore. So some of them I'm going to leave behind, but others I'm going to take and finish. Right now I'm just lining up the paper to make sure that it's straight on the board so I can transfer it straight on the paper so you know it's not crooked. I always take a picture of my artworks before I put the paper over top of them to outline them, just because sometimes even with the outlining of the piece, sometimes things can get lost in translation. So I always take a picture just to make sure that I'm putting in the lines where they should be and that I'm not missing anything. And it does help, so now I've just made it a regular practice to take a picture of what I'm transferring before I transfer it. The only idea I really had for this piece was that I wanted to draw a woman with black flowing hair, and that was the main inspiration for this one. As you can see, I didn't finish her in the Fabrino watercolor sketchbook, so I simply transferred her as she is from the Fabrino onto the Canson watercolor, and then started completing her sketch. So a lot of things about this needed to be finished, the hair needed to be finished, and some parts of it needed to be reconstructed. And definitely the hand and the flower obviously needed to be finished. So that's what I spent a lot of time this day doing, was finishing her sketch so that she would be ready to paint. At first, this was kind of hard to do because I'm not used to transferring in a sketch that's not done and then finishing it on a different kind of paper. So for the first little bit here, I was thrown, and I think my brain was just having a hard time trying to, I guess, connect how to do this, which is kind of funny and sounds a little dramatic. Like, it shouldn't be that hard, and it shouldn't, like, be such a big deal. I mean, I'm just completing a sketch of something that was just unfinished, just on a different piece of paper. And so once I let that go out of my head and just started, enjoying drawing her, just enjoying, finishing her and just drawing in her hair and her features, once I let go of, all that, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the process, and I didn't find it very hard at all. I was debating whether or not to add the thumb, because the flower is pinched between her index and middle finger, so I was wondering whether or not I should add the thumb, like her lifting her thumb up. And I played around with the idea for a little bit, but ultimately I decided it looked too awkward and I should just keep the thumb down behind her palm. I also didn't know if I was going to add nails into this piece, like her fingernails, because sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But on this one, I decided to. The hardest part of her hair, I think, was that front piece, that's just hanging over her eye there, because I didn't know how to end it. Like, I struggled with figuring out how to taper off the piece of the end piece of the hair, sorry. So that took some trial and error, but eventually I got it. I really love adding flyaway hairs. I feel like it gives the hair so much more movement. Like, I always want the hair to look like it's floating or moving in a certain direction, and I always want it to seem mystical and as if it has a life of its own. And I feel like flyaway hairs really help with that. I also feel like they add more to the character's personality and like maybe their mindset at the time. The back of the flower was actually harder to draw than I anticipated, which is funny because I did not think it was going to be that hard. But then when I went to look at reference images for the back of a flower, I actually couldn't really find anything. And then I realized, well, nobody ever really takes a picture of the back of a flower because you want to see the top of a flower. You want to see the bloom part. So I really just had to go off of my own memory and imagination of what the bottom of a flower looks like. I think I did okay. I think it came out good for what I wanted the flower to look like. But I just found that kind of funny that there are certain pictures that are really hard to find. Like when you get really specific about certain things, like, and I just thought it was kind of funny. I added in these petals afterwards, these floating petals, to strengthen, I guess, the movement in the piece. Like I thought she was looking too stationary and like things weren't happening around her. And so I was thinking, what else can I add to this environment? Even though I wanted this to be a really simple piece, I was thinking, what else could I add to this environment to make it seem more, I guess, lifelike. And so I decided to add in these falling, floating petals to help enhance the movement of the piece, and I hope it worked. I think it did. And this is me playing around with the idea of a thumb again, but again, I thought it looked awkward, so I just decided not to have it. But yeah, no, you tell me, do you think like that the floating petals helped with the movement in the piece? I think it did, but I'd love to hear what you think. So then that was pretty much the end for me working on that piece, and then I went to work on the forest nymph right after. So you're seeing me work on this one right after I just worked on the woman with the floating black hair. And like I said, I thought I made her forehead way too high, so I was trying to bring down the hairline. And I allowed myself to still let her have a high forehead because, well, she's a nymph. She's like a fairy kind of creature. So when it comes to those kinds of creatures that I make, I like to use unrealistic proportions just to really emphasize the fact that they're not human. But still, I think I went way too overboard with how high I made her forehead originally, so... And I still think it's kind of high here. I actually don't work on this one for very long. I take it off camera because I just really needed to not focus, but I guess I was just like more so stuck about what to do with the background of her and also like a few of her attributes, so I just decided to take her off camera and just, I guess, really focus on what else I wanted to be with her. I'll talk more about this piece when I go to paint her. She'll be her own video of painting her, of course. And I'll talk about her more then. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing another slice of my artist life. And I hope you'll tune in for the next one. Anyways, I guess that's it for now. Remember to like and subscribe if you like my channel. Thank you, and goodbye.